Okay, welcome. In this video, we're going to be thinking about the parallel minor versus the major scale, and more specifically, the harmonic minor scale. So to get the parallel minor, you think of a major scale, and then you flatten the 3, 6, and the 7. But to get the harmonic minor, you're only going to flatten the 3 and the 6, because the nature of a harmonic minor is you get the minor scale and you sharpen the 7. So for a minor scale, if we're getting the major scale, and we're flattening the 3, 6, and the 7. And for a harmonic minor, we sharpen the 7. What's happening is that flattened 7 is just becoming unflat and natural. So now we're only flattening the 3 and the 6. This is how we get our harmonic minor scale. But when we do this, something interesting happens. Okay, so as you can see, we have our major scale. So we have our degrees 1 through 7. And with that, we have the notes that make up C major. So C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. So what's going to happen is we're going to flatten the 3 and the 6, which in this case happens to be the note E and A. So now we're going to move over to this table on the right. This is our harmonic minor scale. And as you can see, we're using the same notes in the same order. So we still have C, E, and G, and everything else still follows the same order as before. The only difference is that every time we have an E, now it's E flat, and every time that we have an A, now it's A flat. This affects the scale and not only makes it a new scale, but gives us whole new chords. And my next video is going to be comparing the natural minor to the harmonic minor scale. It's going to be comparing the notes, the chords made of the triads, and then also the seventh chords. So be sure to check out that video. It'll be super informative. So we're looking at this table on the right. And just to clarify one more time if anyone's confused, the table on the left is our major table with our major scale, and then the chords that are in the major scales. So you have a major 1, 4, and 5. You have a minor 2, 3, and 6. And then we have that diminished 7. I didn't add that diminished symbol till now, so if you caught that, that's really good. So now when we go to our minor scale, something interesting happens. Our 1 is now minor. This is because the E is flattened, so that middle note goes down 1, making the C to E 3 semitones and the E flat to G 4 semitones, hence a minor triad. Next, the second chord is diminished, and this makes sense because D, F, and A in the major scale is a minor chord, and what we're doing is we're flattening the A, the last note, so therefore we have 3 semitones and 3 semitones, a diminished triad. Next, when we go to the E chord, this one's pretty interesting. Now we have a augmented chord, where before we had a minor chord. And this makes sense because before we had the minor chord of E, G, and B, so we had 3 semitones between E and G, and 4 semitones between G and B. And now we're taking that first note and we're flattening it. So we're taking the very first note and we're moving it down 1 step. So now instead of being an interval of 3 steps and 4 steps, now we have that extra step in the beginning. So now we have 4 semitones and 4 semitones, creating that augmented triad. Next, our 4 becomes minor. This is because our third is A, and this becomes A flat. And if you have a minor triad and you sharpen the third, now you have a major triad. So in this case, we had a major triad and we flattened the third. So originally, F to A is 4 semitones and A to C is 3 semitones. And when we flatten this 3, F to A now becomes 3 semitones. But now A flat to C is 4 semitones versus originally A to C was 3 semitones. Next, we have the fifth, which is a major chord in both major and the parallel minor. So it's good to remember that in your parallel minor, your 5 chord uses the same notes, therefore it is the same chord. And furthermore, we're normally building a 7th chord from that 5, making it a diatonic dominant 7th chord. And if you think about it, our 7th on this would be F, and in this we still have a natural F, so that would totally check out, and we still have that dominant 7th chord built from the parallel harmonic minor scale. This could be part of the reason why the harmonic scale was used in the first place, and that has to do with adding the lead tone. So because in harmonic minor we're sharpening that 7th degree, we're actually adding a lead tone, aka we're bringing the note B a half step away from C. So when we go to that 7th degree, it's only a half step away from our tonic. Doing this also affects the third of our 5 chord, because if you look at our third of our 5 chord, that is the 7th degree of the scale. Therefore, sharpening the 7th degree of the scale changes the third, and like I was saying, when you get a minor chord and you change the third, now it becomes a major chord. So originally in natural minor, we do have a B flat. So in natural minor, you do have a minor 4 chord. But this is why we're using the harmonic minor, because we're building chords, we're building harmony. So we want to be able to establish this dominant function diatonically. And in order to do that, we need to be able to create a diatonic dominant chord, or in other words, we need to be able to take this 5th degree of our scale and create a dominant chord using the notes that are in the scale. Next, we look at the 6th chord, which originally in major was minor, and now it becomes a major 6th chord. And this one's kind of interesting because you have the A flat and the E flat in here. So if you think about it in context, originally you had an A, C, E. So between A and C you have 3 semitones, between C and E you have 4 semitones. So flattening the A now makes a gap of 4 semitones between the A flat and the C. And originally C to E was 4 semitones, so now we have E flat, so now we have 3 semitones here, so now we have that major triad. Okay, and the final chord, the 7th chord, as you can see, it's a 7 diminished in both scales. So there's something really important to consider here. Adding this sharpened 7th degree gives us dominant function from our 5 chord, but it also ends up creating a diminished chord in our 7th degree. And in minor and harmonic minor, both of them, the 2nd degree is diminished. So now when you're using a harmonic minor, you have 2 different diminished chords built from the notes of the scale. And as you might know, harmonically, the diminished chord is not very friendly. Oftentimes it is a chord that is avoided completely. People just don't use it. So this can cause some problems, but this can also cause some advantages as well, so it's good to look at both sides of it. In conclusion, the 5 and the 7th chord are the same chords with the same notes in both major and parallel minor. The next video is comparing minor to harmonic minor and the chords and everything.